Serbia in Focus. So today we have a guest with us, Lena. Welcome, Lena. Would you like to say a couple of words about you?
Thank you very much for having me. My name is Lena Darjevic. I'm a student of international law at the Hague, and I've been joining the protests since they started. We had our first one in December here in the Netherlands, and I've been actively protesting, let's say, whenever I got the chance since 2016.
Yeah. Well, it's really great having you here because you're gonna give us a look on things that maybe we can't approach in our episodes. So let's maybe start already with introducing how do you see that diaspora, like the people from Serbian people from outside, are looking at this. So when the protest started, when the universities got blocked, when all of these bigger protests started happening, how do you look on that, and how do the people, maybe because you said that you are in the community, in Serbian community at The Hague or in the Netherlands in general, so what was their reaction to everything?
Well, I believe that, it's really more of a thing about the Serbian Dutch community here in the Netherlands. There's been an impression amongst me and others that a lot of Serbian diaspora, or even all of Serbian diaspora in the Netherlands, are what we call gastarbeiteri.
Yeah.
And I will explain the term. It's basically somebody who is a guest worker in the country, and it's a very derogative term in Serbia. When you call someone a gastarbeiter, somebody is usually, those people are from a low income background, low educational background, and are considered almost rude.
Mm-hmm.
That was definitely true. There were a lot of Facebook groups of diaspora where a lot of hate messaging has been spread towards newcomers. I've experienced some of that. Merely asking a question in one of those groups would lead you to like an avalanche of hate comments from other people that are also from Serbia. But then this protest happened, and then somebody posted, okay, we're going to make a protest, come and join us here in The Hague. And there was one WhatsApp group, and we all joined, and then we felt the love. And then those people who we thought that were not in the Netherlands, people who are against the regime, people who are well educated, people who are very polite, they all came and gathered at one place, and that kind of accumulated into the Hague protests here in December in The Hague, in front of the embassy.
Mm-hmm.
And since then, we've started to protest bi-weekly, essentially,
Mm-hmm.
from there. The diaspora is affected almost equally, if not the same way, if a little bit less than the actual people in Serbia. What the pain that we feel for our country and for our fellow citizens in Serbia is immense, if not even, I don't even know how to express it, because it's just so hard not being there.
Yes. It's the time. Actually, Laura said a beautiful sentence once, like, this period has made you feel even more connected to your country and even more in love with your country and with your people, and it is the hardest being away from that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Definitely, we try to recreate it, and we feel it amongst ourselves. I mean, after the second protest, there's mostly people coming out to protest and then to hang out.
Yes.
So we have organized hangouts after that as well. It really sparked a hope in us.
Yes.
Because I think that a lot of us, considering that I've been in diaspora for most of my life as well, in other countries, I felt like, we were the ones who got away, and it doesn't bother us anymore. And I got some comments actually from some people as well. Well, Lena, you're living in the Netherlands, this doesn't affect you. Why are you doing this? And I said to them, you know what, I'm in the Netherlands for a reason. And that reason I would like to change.
Yes. Yes,
I would.
That's like the thing that whenever I go to protest here in Berlin, like there's a lot of, and we talked about this, like a lot of banners that just want to make you cry. And there's been, I had a banner that says it's your fault that I live far away from my parents, and some people had like, Mom, there's a hope I might come home, like, so this is like the feeling and the emotions that are happening in diaspora, in Serbian people all around the world, not only Europe, but there's like Serbian people, American continents, or New Zealand, even Australia, like from all over. So Africa I've even seen. So there's people, yes. So there's like people from all around the world, Serbian flags, and they're mostly Serbian, of course, just like giving the support. So that's what we're experiencing all over. And the mission with this is with this show and with us talking right now in English about this, is to bring the knowledge also to non-Serbian speaking people. They have to be informed. So as someone who studies European law and human rights, what's wrong?
Well, a lot is wrong.
Impossible to say in like 1 hour.
From where do I begin? I don't want to sound like I'm giving a lecture as well, but just to give a little bit of a background about European law. Serbia is a member to multiple international instruments of international law, namely what is mostly likely to be in force is the European Convention of Human Rights, and that is being that court which deals with violations of the European Convention of Human Rights is the European Court of Human Rights in Strasbourg. So in Strasbourg, as you know, there's a bike rally, I believe, or it's just a biking expedition of Serbian students towards France to knock on the door of the Strasbourg court. And it's essentially the point of bringing the attention to Serbia. So how it works is, in order for a state to be represented, or somebody from a state that is a member to the European Convention of Human Rights, they need to, under Article 35 of the convention itself, they need to spend, I believe it's 35, maybe I'm 34, I'm wrong, I don't have it in front of me, but essentially they need to exhaust all domestic remedies. What that means is, if you have a violation of your human rights in Serbia, you have to go first to your district court, and if the district court rules against or not in your favor, or you would like to challenge its appellate court, all the way up to the constitutional court, and when there is no more courts to go to on a domestic level, so within Serbia, then you're eligible to apply for the court in Strasbourg. The court in Strasbourg has seen a very big surge in cases being admitted and before trial. So preliminary type of considerations, essentially. That number, I believe, since 2022 is about 64,000 cases. That is a big burden on the court, and it is very
Europe. We're talking about Europe, and is it European Union or Europe?
So the the Council of Europe has actually created this court and this European Convention. So this is not European Union that we're talking about. It is a separate council and a separate organization. However, in order for a country to come into the European Union or assent, they need to ratify the convention. So that means that they have to agree to the convention and follow the convention and adopt the convention. It is that in that way the European Union and the Council of Europe are interconnected. And so For example, I see a lot of people that are claiming online, especially, why don't we go to the court? Well, you have to first go through your Serbian court, and that is nearly impossible. And, well, why doesn't the European Union do something? Why can't they submit a complaint in front of the court? Well, that's not their court, and that is not their jurisdiction, and that is not within their powers. So it is a serious issue procedurally to get to it, and then wait upon it, and then see if it gets accepted or not. If it's, it's sometimes even a statute of limitations expires for those things as well.
Yeah.
So it is a very big leap. It is not impossible, but it is very difficult to achieve. And to talk about human rights, which one would you like to talk about specifically? Because there is some that are broken twice or more times, and some that are, broken multiple times.
Let's maybe talk about this Strasbourg thing. So we know that students went to cycling to Strasbourg. So students went from Novi Sad to Strasbourg, which I think is like 1,200 kilometers or something. And they're gonna be sleeping in some cities, and they're gonna just they're welcomed everywhere. They were welcomed in Budapest, I think yesterday or something like that. So what are they trying to do? What can 80 students with their bicycles coming to this city in super eastern France? You come there as a student with your bike. What do you do? What are they going to do? Do you know their plans? Or if you don't know their plans, from your side, what is something that is what they can do, literally?
I think that I'm not sure. I think that they're carrying a letter to the European Court of Human Rights to bring this issue forward, and to perhaps, maybe I'm not sure exactly if it will expedite the process of coming towards the court or being in front of the court, but I think similarly to the previous, walking from eastern part of Serbia to the western part of Serbia, north to south, I believe it's a big show, not a show as in something to distract you, but I believe that this is a performance to get us to see our struggles as Serbs in Serbia.
In this way, we talked about this, how much their marches, like walking from sides of Serbia, is actually showing to people who are living in smaller parts of the country, and they're showing them like, this is what's happening in Serbia, and this is like the young students, and they're gonna do something. And so probably like with this, they're also going to go around cities in Europe, which thankfully, like a lot of Stuttgart and Munich, we have a lot of Serbian people there, so they're gonna welcome them nicely. But also in other parts, in other cities, people are gonna be seeing 80 people, just cycling, and they're gonna wanna know what's happening. Or if they hear that, they're gonna know like, oh, that's Serbian students. So yeah. Mm-hmm.
It is definitely gonna raise some eyebrows. I mean, the feat is crazy in itself to cycle from a small country in West Balkans to a Western huge country such as France.
Yes.
That is, the trip, I believe, is 12 days long as well. But it is not. There isn't probably a better way to say, hey, this issue is important. Look what we're doing than what they're doing right now.
Yes, and it's hugely important. It's like they're really taking things so far that to lengths that we could not have known ever in November 2024. So yeah, it's getting bigger and bigger every moment. Yeah.
I would like to just add in to here that the Dutch diaspora is also going to try and meet the students in Strasbourg, and we are organizing a biking trip.
No way!
Yeah, from Amsterdam. Yes, from Amsterdam all the way with the stops in front of the Hague, in Rotterdam, in Brussels, and then I believe
my God.
Antwerpen, and then Brussels, and then towards Strasbourg to not only to meet the students but also to show the European Union that we are also considering as well knocking on their door, and that's what they're actually going to do. See if somebody will wait for us or not. And the plans, I believe, are starting from next week. So I believe 11th of April that they're going to start from Amsterdam. It's not going to be one group. I believe it's going to be like I believe it's relay. So one group starts from Amsterdam to The Hague, and then from The Hague to Rotterdam, another group, and so forth and so forth. I plan to be there in The Hague to wait for them, and we believe we're going to be in front of the embassy to see if the embassy will actually endorse us or not, and to see what they will say. We will go to the European Commission in Brussels to see what they will say, if they will come out to greet us or not. And so definitely inspiring moment.
Yes, yes, it is. I'm also going to be there, not with my bike, but I'm going there through Germany, because I gotta be there just to see them, you know. I think like being there, actually I'm gonna see probably less things, but I have to be there, you know, like I just have to see them with my own eyes.
You just have to be there.
Yeah,
you just have to be there. And it is also the same the last protest we had yesterday, actually, a Dutch person was giving a speech, and he was in Belgrade and in a small town in central Serbia, Kruševac, and he was there to see and to witness the students as well. And he mentioned it in his speech that he was there, and that he felt it, and that he saw it, and that it was one of the most incredible feelings that he ever experienced, and that it's really crazy for them, Dutch people, let's say, that somebody could have so much energy and so much love and wait for someone that they never met, to give them food and to give them shelter and to give them their house to sleep over and to take care of them and give them medical attention as well. I mean, I don't think this has ever happened in the Netherlands. And I think he said also, I don't think he said it on the protest, but he also told me, like, I don't think that this would ever happen in the Netherlands, that somebody would be this committed and that other person will be so welcoming and so warm towards them. So this is very unique.
That's something that Germans told me as well. Like that it's really impossible. I mean, first of all, what I answer to that is you have like 80 million people. Okay, so like that's like a lot of people that you have to turn, you know, to your side and to do that. But yeah, it is really like I think we're lucky that we're a small country, first of all, because like you can do that easily. And I think that we have been repressed for way too long for this not to be everyone's deal. So this isn't just a matter of students, this isn't just a matter of working class or whatever. It's like, it's way too important, and we've been under it for way long, that of course when someone is going to go, I'm giving you my home, and yes, you can sleep over here because you're fighting for my country, and I am as well, by giving you my home. So it's beautiful that you can now see it all around Europe. So cyclists have arrived in Budapest, and actually I want to play a video of that, and just to see how it looks like when they arrived to Budapest, I think yesterday or 2 nights ago. Let's see it.
I feel great. It was pretty easy to ride till now. I don't really feel tired, but we'll see.
We hope for a change, we hope for a better country, and we hope for the best, you know? We really hope for the best. We are all in this trying very hard. The energy is good, the people are amazing.
Budapesten pontosan tudjuk, mit jelent a szabadságért küzdeni, de ez a küzdelem az egész világon zajlik, és a szerb fiatalok végtelen szimpatikusak az általatosságokkal, és az, hogy bringával jönnek, ez még különös.
Yeah, so as we can see, the mayor of Budapest also appeared there and supported the students. So it's a matter of even broader than Serbia, which is beautiful. Yeah.
This is such a moment, because everybody kind of greets them within Serbia as liberators, and this was so scary to think, okay, they're gonna go through Orban's Hungary, and Orban is very close with Vucic, and you know, we were kind of like skeptical, okay, what will happen, do they need something, every this and that, and the Dutch diaspora was of course very worried if they will have enough food or shelter, and there was also many organizations within Serbian diaspora to try and help out the students, but seeing this from the Hungarian, the mayor of Budapest is wow.
Yes.
Just wow.
So the thing is also, like, technical wise, there were links, we were supporting the students, so you could support them. You can bring things. They had a list of the things that they needed, and you could come to the universities and bring the things and say that that is for the cyclists. And you also had a number of a bank account to give the money, to donate money. And we could also do that from outside. So Diaspora helped in that way also, that we all followed that link and we supported the students and we brought them like a lot of those things. Like we helped them with also finding the accommodation, but accommodation is mostly Serbians, again, who are giving the space for them. But seeing this is that it's not only Serbians, like it's not only us who did that, and it's not only us who helped with everything that they have right now. It's also they were welcomed in Budapest with food. They were welcomed there with shelter, with everything. So it's like broader than Serbia. People from all over are going to support them. It is really inspiring.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. And to that, I might add as well that the Dutch diaspora has been very active in donations. We've raised over 30,000 euros for the students just through donations. And there's been many actions that are listed on the website of the Serbian diaspora in the Netherlands. About all the donations and all the places that have received donations. Most of it went to the universities. Everything went from food, water, just monetary donation to even such as I think it was graphic cards and beds for the students that sleep, also including medical supplies for the walkers that were walking. I believe it was west to east. So I just wanted to bring attention to that and to encourage everyone that can to donate to this cause.
Yes, and we have the links in our profile, so anyone who wants to can always donate through those links. So yes, we see the beautiful humanity coming during like these walks and these like now cycling rally. So, but we have to talk about the human rights as we started. So, human right. What is a human right? What is a human right? And how?
Yo, thank you for this question.
Yes.
Well, this is also I have to say academically that the definition has also not been established per se. Academically, to define what exactly a human right is. I mean, there's always room for interpretation. Not to interpretation, but to, let's say, what is a human right, what not. There's been an evolution of rights throughout. So it went from civic rights, tertiary, and the second and third wave of human rights. The first rights, civic rights, were, for example, the right to vote. And then its second wave more focused on liberty and personal freedoms, for example, and things like that. So essentially what a human right is we look at it more in terms of, well, you really caught me off guard with this question. Well, as I am
No, it's like asking for a friend in Serbia. What are human rights? Please, like, how can you help us understand?
Human rights.
Yeah, because like the gaslighting has turned into something so huge that I think that we really need to like kind of get back on the ground and remind ourselves what it is, what we are aiming for.
What the point of human rights is. I hear you from this as well. The point of human rights that they are not all enforceable, let's say, a document that everyone can just enforce fully. Like there's some states which derogate from a lot of human rights. So for example, Saudi Arabia derogates from the right to a sexual life. So for example, sexual orientation and discrimination, and there's some also aspects that are not declared. So they're first, like, let's say Universal Declaration of Human Rights is the first human rights instrument. However, other conventions, so International Convention of Human Rights, for example, is not ratified by all states. That is also a problem. So how human rights actually get enforced is through states enforcing them. So even though that a state is a party to the convention, they can be held accountable by going towards a court of that international instrument for their rights to be, well, judicially enforced or similar. But it still depends on the actual state itself. So there is a saying that most states actually implement their international law almost all the time. But there is a question of, is that really true? Considering what is happening in Serbia, considering what is happening in the Middle East, what is happening in Russia, and things like that. So that is an endless problem with international law. We have international law. It gets transcribed into, for example, national law, so the law of Serbia. But then Serbia is a lawless state. It has a law, but there is an absence of enforcement of this law. So to go back to human rights are in relation between our rights given by the state in relation to their citizens. So, state is responsible for enforcing human rights, which means investigating when a possible violation has occurred and not harming those individuals actually violating their rights.
Who sets the rights in the state then? The government. Who decides? You said that it's like it's states' responsibility to implement the human rights. So how do they decide what is a human right in their state? How do we know what are our rights in Serbia? Do you know what are our rights as Serbian citizens?
Serbian citizens in our rights, to be fair, as I don't study Serbian law, I do not know exactly at the top of my head what actually the human rights are. But we are a member state to the convention, so that means that we took our state, so a head of our state, a prime minister, at one point, I'm not sure when we joined the convention, and we decided and declared, hey, we are going to be a part of this convention. So that means that we're going to follow the laws that are set in and we're going to implement them and have the right to complain to that court in case the rights are those rights are breached. Those can be interstate or intrastate. So it means between countries or in one country. It is mostly that the complaints come from individuals within a country against that country. So, Darjevic versus Serbia in front of the European Court of Human Rights. And those human rights, so that convention really depends on how it will be treated by the national law itself. So how will the state treat it? Will the state treat it as a separate body that they will comply with? Or will the state say, okay, we agree to this law, now we're going to rewrite it into our law, and it's going to become our law, and we're going to take care of it? It depends. That is the difference between dualism and monism within a state, but that is very much getting into international law theory. And so, for example, dualistic states would treat the document as a separate sphere of law, but will still enforce it. So it's not our law, but okay, we will enforce it. Okay, some other states, I believe that the Netherlands is a monist state, but can't be this. I didn't really prepare for this. Would, for example, take that convention, that the line of text. The conventions are articles or your rights, and those rights, and write them into their law. So, for example, that would also be that.
Yeah. yeah, so something that we've been saying is that since November, and something that like this started for is like some parts, I mean, that's something that also non-professionals say, like our human rights are in danger in Serbia. Our human right is meaning my human right is to walk on the street and not be maybe killed. But then again, like we're talking about a building, and then like I don't know where a building goes, and like no one physically killed you, but there has been a building. So also our human right is protesting in silence. I hope that protests are somewhere in the human rights. So
yeah. So when we're talking about, I will just say that the first thing you mentioned, not being killed, for example, is outlined in the European Convention of Human Rights, to which Serbia has agreed to respect, and that is the right to life. So it is the right, for example, of you to not be killed by the state without a sufficient enough reason, to which, by the way, the state can say, okay, during this and this time, during this and this circumstance, we are allowed not to follow that right or to respect that right. However, those derogations have to be made. That's what we'll call a derogation from a right. So you're kind of going away from it, not respecting it, let's say. Those derogations have to be really, really specific for some important rights, such as the right to life. But to bring yourself to the following example, I do not know at the top of my head, and we can organize a second episode for this as well to talk in depth more. And that I think what you're referring to is the right to be safe. However, I do not explicitly know of that right within the European Convention. I can look it up, of course. And the third example that you gave is the right to freedom of assembly. And that is the right. If I have it here, I can read it. If I have it open, right to liberty and security, you're actually referring to Article 5 here, right? Right to freedom of thought, freedom of expression, freedom to hold opinions without any interference from authority, to exercise the freedoms that it carries, so such as freedom of assembly and association. Everyone has the right to freedom of peaceful assembly and the freedom of association with others, including the right to form and join trade unions or for the protection of their interests. No restrictions shall be placed on the exercise of these rights other than such as prescribed by law and are necessary in a democratic society. And this is as well this is kind of like when the derogation can happen. So in a necessary democratic society, you cannot not, for example, allow some certain freedom of expression or freedom of assembly. And for example, our rights during Corona were restricted to freedom of assembly because of the COVID pandemic. But those are very extreme calamities and circumstances. In our cases, there was really not any reason for this freedom of assembly to be interrupted. I'm only saying this from an academic prima facie, like first look kind of moment, because I do not have the authority to say our right has been breached. That has to be done by the court. First, by the Serbian court, if they're going to do that, and second of all, if the European Court of Human Rights will follow that as well. Yeah, that is definitely that I just have to preface all of this, that what I was talking about, it is the use of what freedom of assembly would mean was, for example, use of non-lethal force, such as the supposed use of a sonic cannon against the citizens.
Yes. So was that the freedom of right that didn't exist? Was that overruled freedom of right, like of human rights? What happened there? What happened on 15th of March?
On the 15th of March, to get the facts a little bit straight, there was eyewitnesses and witnesses, evidence of some kind of a sound or some force that has come from behind all of the protesters who were giving the 15-minute silence, that is being linked to use of a sonic weapon. And there's likely evidence that there was a sonic weapon used, such as the LDAR, long distance acoustic range, LRAD, sorry, long range acoustic device, which there's been pictures, there's been statements, but we can get to that a little bit later. As you can see here, those are the photos of the Ministry of Interior who are showing that they have an LRAD, but they have not used it on that day. And if you revert back to the first picture, there behind the parliament, in the small corner, you can see the small device that is mounted on the small device. The LDAR is like a TV sized, essentially, and is placed on the police car used behind the parliament on the 15th of March. So this is likely that it was used, but we do not know yet. This is for the court to decide. Mainly the Serbian court, because international law doesn't regulate, let's say, the use of a sonic weapon specifically in times of non-conflict. To get to the second part of your question, the state can only derogate from the right to freedom of assembly. So as I explained, they can only not respect the law, not in these cases. They can only not respect the law in the cases of where it's necessary in democratic society, interest of national security, public safety, prevention of disorder and crime, for the prevention of health or morals, or the protection of rights and freedoms of others. So in that moment, yes, the state can intervene and say you're not allowed to assemble. To have a protest, for example. How this is, again, on prima facie analysis of this moment. If Serbia, in front of the court, can argue that for any of those reasons, such as public health, morals, prevention of disorder and crime, and etc., can claim that their use of a non-lethal weapon was justified, and if the court agrees, then yes, they can use it. If not, then they've breached Article 11 of the European Convention of Human Rights. Prima facie, again, I don't think that this use of this weapon was justified at all under those exceptions that are listed in Article 11. I cannot see how a 15-minute silence, actually a 15-minute mourning for the victims, could in fact be related to public health risks, morals, or how would you say it, disorder or crime. Really, I cannot. But it really depends on what the jurisprudence has said before and how it is interpreted. And it depends, again, as we know, that national law is really states who implement the convention. It will really depend on Serbia. Because those rights can be implemented at the Serbian court.
Yeah. And there has been this... so I'm again talking as a I have no idea, but there has been this Europe, everyone heard about this assuming to be a sound cannon that happened at the assembly. So the whole world is now talking about it and what actually happened there. And so Europe asked from Serbian government to come on forward and say whether it actually happened or not. And I think that was 31st of March. They actually got a deadline and saying 31st of March, you have to come forward and tell us what happened. And do you know about that? Have you heard about that? And
yes,
what happened?
The European Court of Human Rights has issued a request upon the 47 non-governmental organizations within Serbia and other civil societies that have actually sent a request, I believe, to the European Court of Human Rights to pay attention to the situation. And I believe that the Serbian government and the Serbian authorities have not given a response back to them yet. Instead, they've called upon FBI and FSB to come and investigate, which is absolutely insane, that you would allow these authorities, instead of actually using BIA, the National Security Authority
of Serbia,
of Serbia to investigate. I mean, the Ministry of Interior has, of course, denied the use of it. And the Minister of Interior, even Sedatić, has changed these statements 3 times. To first, there was no sonic cannon, to, okay, we have sonic cannons, to then, okay, there was a sonic cannon there, but we didn't use it. So decide what it is. But but definitely, yeah. And I just might add that sonic weapons are not allowed by Serbian law.
Yes.
There's apparently 16 weapons, according to some news sources, 16 sonic weapons in Serbia, none of which are authorized. They tried to pass the law in 2022, but it was ultimately not passed, and therefore it is illegal under Serbian law to use them, if they were used. And this is, again, a problem of enforcement of law. We have laws, and they're okay, and we have the convention, and it can be enforced, but it is really about enforcement. It is really about the judiciary being reformed and it coming in and saying, hey, this what you're doing is legal. No matter if they're a state authority or not, the law must be respected by everyone. Even the president and even the Ministry of Interior, and that is the concept of rule of law.
Okay, so LRAD, let's talk about the thing even more. So I'm gonna put this picture on. So what is the thing?
Well, LRAD was actually designed in America firstly for communication during crisis situations. So it is essentially some form of very, very loudspeaker. I'm just simplifying. I don't even know that far how it is. I'm not an expert in it, but it's essentially, it can transmit messages to very, very far. And it's used primarily, and when used safely, according to America, it can be used as a communication tool. When incorrectly used, it can be defined as a non-lethal weapon. And according to the American Navy, when they were investigating if it is compliant with their laws of army laws or laws of war, they came to a conclusion, the Navy came to a conclusion that it is actually compliant with Protocol 1 of the Geneva Convention. And the Geneva Convention is essentially rules of law and rules of before law. Rules of war and rules before actually stepping into an armed conflict or war. And according to that protocol, a weapon must not be, let's say, too destructive beyond its purpose. So they came to a conclusion that actually a LRAD, which can cause deafness and cognitive and coordinational balance issues, is in fact safe to be deployed as a form of crowd control. They stopped it in 2009, though, in Pittsburgh, when one of a professor has been attacked or inadvertently actually affected by that LRAD and has suffered deafness. So it is really a question of how is this possible to be used in Europe? You know, America is America and Europe is Europe. Well, actually, there is another case of an LRAD being used quite recently, and that is in 2021 when Greece used it against oncoming migrants on their border. The European Union hasn't sanctioned Greece, to my knowledge, about the use of the LRAD. As I say that they don't really regulate the weapon itself, but rather the rights around it. And mostly what I focused on during this research, among the inherent rights that everyone has, such as the right to liberty, right to freedom of torture, right from to be free from inhumane and degrading treatment, and other rights such as the right to freedom of thought and right to freedom of assembly, aka human rights. The problem with that was that actually, if in fact established that LRAD was used, it was used by officers of the law. So essentially police, right? Could we safely assume that if somebody was to have it, it would be the MUP, the Ministry of Interior Affairs, right?
Yeah, I mean, there is no possibility that I could buy it. There's no possibility that a private person could buy it anywhere.
I believe that they can. You can
they
buy
can?
it. Yeah, when I was researching, I was googling it. Wow, somebody can actually buy it themselves. So
that's crazy.
that is insane. But essentially, there is likelihood that, and there is a reasonable suspicion, at least preliminary, that the Ministry of Interior of Serbia has LRAD, and that would essentially mean that if they were to cause pain and suffering. Let me find it, the actual definition. Severe pain or suffering, physical, let's say, which was intentionally inflicted on a person to punish them for an act that they have or have not done, which we could also maybe assume was because they were gathering there. For any reason, if it was within or without consent, that a public official has done, we could safely say and assume that there is actually torture being done upon people in Serbia. This was an act of torture. There was an officer that has inflicted pain intentionally on people for any of the reasons outlined. The reasons could be for interrogation purposes or for an act that they have or have not committed or is suspected of having committed. Yeah. If nothing else, this is an act of terrorism under Serbian law, at least. So there's serious demands here, and there is some serious violations here, and a state that cannot respect a universal right, a right that cannot be derogated from, and that is the right from freedom of torture, which in no case any state can derogate from. So that means that in no case is it allowed that somebody tortures somebody else.
Yeah.
We have a problem.
Yeah. So after something that has happened, a lot of people, and we talked about this already, so a lot of people went to hospitals and said that their heads hurts or they feel nauseous or like they have some consequences. They're feeling that something went through their body. So whatever happens with that, the doctors or nurses kind of don't take them in or like don't control them, don't look at them as they would to other people or in other situations. So these are just people who have been on the protests, and we've heard people saying that their files are marked with the P, like people who are at the protest. So what is something that, like, from if you know that, like, from the side of law, what is something that they should do? Like, what do you do in the situation where your rights, let's say, like, you've been hurt, so you've actually been hurt on the street while you stood in silence with your friends, family, alone, or whatever, children, so what do you do with who do you talk to?
Well, as we know, there is a lot of distrust in the officials, especially the police in Serbia. The first thing that one does is to actually get legal attention from, first of all, medical attention if they're hurt. And if second of all, if they cannot do it, they can have to report to a lawyer immediately to just say that this has happened, and then maybe there can be a case lodged. Actually, there was a case lodged by a lawyer within Serbia, Vladimir Terzic, who actually submitted a case against NN Lice, so somebody who is unknown, for inciting public violence, public danger, and that is referred to the LRAD. Somebody has caused a commotion in the middle of Belgrade during a peaceful protest where there was a mass of people, and our law actually specifies it, that if this crime is committed with a large number of people, the sentences increases. So that is definitely one can do. But again, this depends on how far if the law gets enforced, if the national law gets enforced. If it doesn't get enforced, and if the domestic remedies are exhausted, one can really turn to the European Court of Human Rights, for example, if we're talking about Serbia or any other international convention. provided that one doesn't go to the International Court of Human not the International Court, the International Court of Human Rights, yes, exactly, and the European Court of Human Rights, considering that if this a substance is the same of each and every case, then if it's tried at one court, it cannot be tried at the second court. You cannot have two rulings about the same issue, because then which court's ruling gets enforced? So there's also some practical questions raised about that, but definitely first protect yourself, get medical attention, and then try to get a lawyer.
Yeah. After all of that, students have officially launched the 5th demand. So we had 4 demands, and now we have 5 demands, and the 5th demand is for the government to come forward and to investigate what happened on 15th of March. So, yeah.
Well, actually, yeah, they were very careful with formulating it, because I truly believe, and they're more careful than me, actually, with assumptions. And we are here, a lot of this is, although there is some evidence for it, and that there's the likelihood that this was, we really are not in the jurisdiction or the authority to say that this exactly happened how it was, and that this LDAR was really used. I mean, there's also a report that there's 16 other weapons used, so it may not be an LDAR. There is not a, for example, a video where an evidence speaks for itself that somebody really fired a sonic cannon from a top of a building into the street where this happened in the middle of Belgrade. So we just are going off very of assumptions. There's also another company that I think it's called Vortex, that has come out and claimed, actually, upon analysis of the videos of that sonic blast or sonic cannon being used, we can safely say that our sonic cannon was used, because that's how our sonic cannon makes noise. So, this careful formulation and consideration really is, properly legal without accusation of anything. But the demand still stays there. It's been, it's going to be a month. It's been 2 weeks and more.
Oh yeah.
Since the incident, and there has nothing has come out.
Yeah. Still it's silence.
There is silence. I have another aspect of this, and I've mentioned terrorism actually as a possibility, but there is also some term in I believe this is psychology that when I was researching and I came across it, is stochastic terrorism. Actually, that is being implemented on Serbs, and that is the act of using hateful language and rhetoric for fear that encourages violence. And this is mostly in relation to what happened after when the dean Natalia Jovanovic, the dean of the University of Niš, was attacked by a knife during a protest. Ensuing her attack, actually the day before, the president came on national frequency and said to the people of Serbia that the biggest evil in Niš is actually the dean of the university.
That was the day before or the day after?
I believe that it's the day before, and I'm not sure now. But if it's the day after, anyways, I mean, it is very awful. But I know that he said that the hand was attacked, that her upon the protest where that woman who attacked her and stabbed her hand was the day after, the president came out and said, your wound looks like you were cutting cucumbers, which is also a very
you say that to a woman that was attacked.
Yeah, it's insanity that the president on a function can say this.
Yes.
Considering the power that this position holds. And it relates to the rhetoric of hate. If everyone is using it and telling people that they are foreign agents, that they're evil, that they are somehow going to destroy Serbia, which actually I believe that if you ask any supporter of Vučić, what they think will happen if Vučić goes away from power. I seriously believe that they will say that Serbia will completely fall apart, that they won't get their pensions, that they won't get any money, that they will go bankrupt, that everything will, literally, that the whole earth will open up and swallow Serbia. And that is really an act of continued terrorism, which incites violence, whether we like it or not. The point is, it's not explicit. So the law can regulate explicit words on and incitement, but it cannot argue, and it cannot really, how do I say, like there's freedom of speech.
Yeah.
And then there's hate speech. And depends on how the law regulates our speech within Serbian. I don't know exactly, but I know that public incitement. So, for example, I go up to you and tell you, hey, go and do this to that person. That would be incitement. And even if you actually do it or not, if I ask you to do something illegal, I believe that the law will regulate that with criminal intent.
Yeah.
RTS, Pink and Informer use that rhetoric and amplify it on national frequency, suggesting that the students are a danger to the nation. And that's why we have seen people being run over with other cars. We can assume, they were paid by Vučić, but this is a bit also unprovable unless there is a confession and there is some proof that that transaction actually took place. That's illegal in itself. But the point is that there's a young person who did that as well. We would assume that there is somebody. Okay, first incident, there was a person who worked in a municipality. Second event was a 25-year-old girl.
Yeah.
And we don't know what happened after them.
Yeah.
We don't know if they were prosecuted.
It's a lot of hate, and you can see there when, like, those. I hate using words like side and people who are on that side and who are on our side. So you can see the hate that's been building up and that I think would start hierarchically from the president and the way that he talks about when the woman gets stabbed, how he talks about the students and how he talks about everything that would happen. He's really, you can feel the hatred. You can literally feel the hatred. And that's, as you said, been going to the national frequency channels, which everyone watches because it is on every TV. You actually have it everywhere. You're built with this hatred. And then you go and do something stupid like that. You go and do run over someone with a car. Even if you're not paid, you do feel this hate. And that's something that the students and us, we feel this completely opposite thing. And we feel this love. So you can really see how the groups function in that area and where it all comes from. Yeah.
Can you guys hear me? Have the retrograde Mercury gods been kind? So just a few more updates, and it's all related to international relations, I believe. And it's so shocking when you hear someone as bright and devoted to their studies as Lena, and then you see Mr. Goran Aleksic, the ambassador of Serbia in Britain, who gives a speech with incredibly poor English. I have to state this. Has that man passed a TOEFL exam that is necessary for his job?
As an ambassador,
yeah, to Britain. So I don't believe every ambassador in Serbia knows Serbian, but you have to know English if you're an ambassador in Britain. I'm pretty sure. He has stated that he was asked on Sky News about the alleged use of the LRAD device. He said it was not used, and then the host asked him, but the Minister of Interior says that you do own it. He says, I cannot confirm, and blah, blah, blah. So that's number one. How can someone who works as a diplomat not know English and not have any credible information for the audience of Britain and the international audience? Second person that I want to mention is Alexandra Djurovic, the Serbian ambassador in Hungary, who refused to greet our students. Yesterday, not only did she refuse to do that, but she can be the only one who can make employees pull down the shutters on the embassy. I'm pretty sure a cleaning lady cannot give that order to everyone and be heard on that. And a third thing that I really want to highlight is the newest information that a Italian pianist who has been supporting the gatherings in Novi Sad by playing music and cheering up people in public space has been deported. He has been issued a deportation.
From Italy to Serbia?
From Serbia to Italy. He was in Serbia. Yes.
He's an Italian, living in Serbia.
He was in Serbia. He traveled, and probably because of his performance that were very well greeted by the people and that were celebrated during the student supporting protest, he has now been ordered to leave Serbia immediately. So these are very scary things that we are dealing with, and it's shocking when you hear someone who casually has the European Convention of Rights or whatever on their desktop, and then see how our diplomats are behaving and how our government is chronically destroying international relations. So I really hope Italy will react to this. I really hope citizens of Britain were able to see what kind of people we are dealing with and who speaks instead of us. And for our lovely friends in Hungary, I'm pretty sure that they're very well acquainted with the problems, not only because they have similar ones, but because we are and have been neighbors for so long. So yeah, that's just when I compare everything that you've been talking about with a local perspective and everything that has been happening here recently.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, definitely. For the deportation and I believe it is national sovereignty, I do believe that there are some rights that need to be enforced, and that is the rights of due procedure, which are always questioned. So there needs to be some sort of procedure around the substantive law itself. So the law may say, okay, you may not, okay, so this is like a very abstract example. You may not deport someone. This is an example. It's arbitrary. However, if that is written, for example, in Serbian law, there needs to be a procedure around that. So how do you establish that someone has not been, how do you establish that someone can be deported or cannot be deported? How do you handle that? So how do you arrest them? Do you arrest them? How do you issue them? Do you give them 30 days? Do you there's law is very complex, and there are some rights that interfere with other rights, and there needs to be a serious steps and procedure followed, which we often don't see followed in Serbia. So for example, you arrest a student protester and you immediately place them in custody without giving them the chance to get a lawyer, without giving them a chance to seek any legal professional or anything, without a chance to have a call, without anything. So there are some rights that are being really the procedure that is really not being followed. And this is a huge problem as well within Serbia and the Serbian constitution, because somebody who doesn't have jurisdiction on things is saying things. And by jurisdiction, I mean the power that they are entitled to. And I mean the president, who wakes up and has over 158 hours in the first 60 days on television. First 60 days of the year of 2025. That is, every time he speaks, it's unconstitutional. But we're in a climate where it is normalized that, yeah, I can break the constitution, so what? And that is so dangerous. So dangerous. And it raises a question, how can we now start respecting law? And not just any law, the constitution.
Yeah. It's a lot of the questions. And I would love for you to come back and after, you know, like these things, after what happened in Strasbourg, we see what students achieved and what is Europe's answer to a lot of these questions, you know, like I think that that's going to be something that they're going to be doing. And I would love to have you back, and, you know, as you're researching, as we're seeing stuff, and then, you know, tell us then what's happening. Yeah.
I would love to come back. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you so much for this. Thank you so much. This was extremely insightful. And I hope not only for Laura and me.
Hope for others too.
Yeah. Thank you so much. And we're looking forward to welcoming you back. Okay.
Thank you so much for having me again. I hope I brought anything useful to this discussion. And if I've made any mistakes, please, anybody in the comments that will read can correct me and we can have a discussion further. I would love to get in touch and I would love to follow you girls. It was such a nice pleasure. It was such a pleasure for me to join here and to contribute meaningfully.
Pleasure's
Thank you.
all ours. And keep on working and have fun in cycling wherever you do.
Yeah, maybe I'll join them, maybe I won't, but I will definitely follow the
Supporting,
situation and let you know.
just supporting. And yes, and thank all of our Serbian beautiful people in the Netherlands. And yes, thank you, and see you next time.
Thank
then.
you.
Bye.
See you. Bye.
Bye.